It's great. We only have a couple of people in this room, so I'll like keep it pretty conversational. I'll leave some time for questions, all of that good
Yeah.
stuff.
And Karen, do you mind if I start that? I just started recording and I need to tell everybody that you're being recorded. So I didn't want to just like turn that button on. I apologize. And then one more time, I'm Stacy Klein. I'm the Orange County CUE board secretary. I'm a teacher in the Santa Ana Unified School District and the Google Certified Trainer and part of Global GEG and all these wonderful things. And we would like to extend our greatest thanks to Google for Education and Danielle and TD and Karen for supporting us, helping us put the event on, and for throwing in a pair of headphones for the raffle to boot. So thanks everybody for joining us.
Thanks, Stacy. All right, Karen, would you mind just presenting the slides? Yeah, awesome. Great. So great to see everybody. Hope you're having a good morning so far. All technical issues aside, I feel like every time I run a presentation or do something in kind of this virtual format, there's always just like bumps that come up and you just kind of run with it. And it seems like that's what the CUE folks, the Orange County CUE board is doing today. So I love to see it. And I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one who sometimes technology just doesn't want to work when you need it to. So great to see everyone. I'm going to go ahead and throw these slides in the chat. So you should have access to them and feel free to, I'm not realizing I have the wrong slides up. This is probably something I could have checked, while we were all sitting here waiting, but okay, yeah. Karen, do you mind? I don't know. Are you able to throw the slides in the chat? If not, I can figure out where my tab is.
I can do that, Danielle. I have actually her bit.ly, so I'll throw that in there.
That is super great. Thank you so much, Stacey.
You're my pleasure. My pleasure.
We're just going to give a quick overview.
My headphones are not working, so.
Okay. Well, that's okay, Karen. If you we'll make it all work.
Hey, Danielle.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, my headphones aren't working, so I'm going to listen to two different systems.
Oh, that's because here, I'll mute the other one. There you go. I muted one of you, Karen, and now, because there's two of you in here, and so you shouldn't echo now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. So, Karen, I'm going to turn you off, actually, because I'm getting feedback. Okay. Karen, can you mute yourself, actually? Because it's giving, there we go. Okay,
sorry, I got
awesome. Sorry, I don't know how to mute people in Zoom. Okay, so we're going to give an overview of the teacher resources that are available with Google for Education, and then we're just going to run through some like updates that we have around our product that are both applicable to administrators and to teachers, just to be aware of for your district. And then last, I have a Jamboard activity. We can do it, we cannot do it. I feel pretty lax on how we run this session. So if you have questions at any point, I have the chat open. So just let me know what I can help you with. And I may or may not have the answer, but I certainly can get back to you. All right, next slide. Okay, so nothing crazy here. In the last year, Google for Education has grown a ton, specifically around classroom and Chromebooks, and we just have a lot of folks using our products at this point. So that's just a big thank you to you guys. I mean, hopefully you've seen some changes in our products over the last year. I know that when we all started virtual learning, it was a bit rough. Not only just on kind of every level. I mean, Google Meet it feels like a completely different product than it was a year ago. So hopefully you've been able to follow along with some of those changes. I used this deck to just highlight some of what those changes were, because I don't know about you, but I have a hard time keeping up with them at times. So hopefully you can use this deck, bring it back to your district, and be able to just reference it. That's really what my goal here was for you today. But right in, I made sure to put together, what are our key teacher resources and how can it help you and hopefully your day-to-day. I'm guessing most of the folks here in the room are teachers. If, I was going to throw up a poll, but I'm unable to do that. So if you want to just throw in the chat, say hi, What district are you a part of, and what do you do at your district? I would just love to know who I'm talking to today. So if everybody's able to throw that in the chat. So the three things were your name, what district, and what your role is at your district. Okay, so we have an instructional technology TOSA. Awesome. We've got the teacher. Nice to meet you, Corey and Alfredo. Sabrina, visual and a curriculum specialist. Cool. I see Stacy. Oh yeah, I forgot to give the caveat of normally I have a counterpart, TD. Some of you may have met TD. TD's actually out on paternity leave right now, so I miss working with my friend TD, but he's busy, hanging out with the newest member of his family. So he'll definitely be here in the future. Science teacher in Santa Ana, awesome. Okay, so we've got good representation from kind of all around. So I'll make sure to try to give kind of plugs for all the different areas. But really this slide, it works to just kind of be hopefully like a grounding slide for you in terms of, where you can just like get all your quick resources. So I'm hoping everyone here knows the Teacher Center. I'm just going to highlight a few of like the changes in the Teacher Center and some of the content that I appreciate in the Teacher Center. And then we'll go through and we'll walk through some of the certification programs we have. Stacy here, I know she's very familiar with our GEGs, and hopefully there are folks in the room here who are also familiar with GEGs, but we'll give a plug for our GEGs. And then we'll go through some more curriculum based. So CS First, Internet Awesome, things like that. We've got some really great programs going on. Next slide. All right, we can just skip this slide too, Karen. It kind of goes over the same thing. And then this slide really is just, I don't think we have a lot of like district administrators in the room, but it's more so just talking about resources on how to just better support our teachers and how to better support our families. Because especially with the onset of online learning, it's just been so important to make sure that families are as, looped into what's going on as kind of it ever has before. I mean, families have always played a big role, but I know that from my end, we've just seen, needing an onset of resources to make sure that they're supported as well. Next slide. All right, next slide. And then, all right, so Teacher Center, Teach from Anywhere. I'm trying to see if I kind of put a lot of filler slides in here because I didn't know how big our audience was going to be. So we can go next slide, Karen. Teacher Center. So yeah, we'll start with kind of this. How many in here use Teacher Center? If you just like want to wave or something, you don't. One. I'm seeing a couple waves. Cool. Well, our Teacher Center really looks to hold all of kind of our resources for teachers in terms of when you need training or when you need to learn how to use that new Google tool a little bit better. The great thing about the Teacher Center too is, especially if you're interested in taking things like our L1, L2 certification or becoming a trainer and innovator, the Teacher Center actually has resources so you can go about kind of getting those certifications. That's where we really encourage everybody to start out when they're just starting to use or when they're just starting to use Google products. The great thing about the Teacher Center is that it has anywhere from like tips and tricks to like full-blown like multiple hour-long trainings. So it really can hopefully meet you at any point that you're at within kind of your Google journey. I do have to say it's less like pedagogical in nature. It's more so focused around like, how do you physically use this tool? Not necessarily, how do I, take this tool to the next level and really integrate it in my curriculum. But if you're just looking more so for kind of those troubleshooting resources or those ways on how you can just better implement technology, Google technology specifically within your classroom, this would be a really, really great place to start. Next slide. Teach from Anywhere. This was really developed around the kind of move to distance learning. So this is a little bit of an offshoot of the Teacher Center, but it's slightly different. It actually does have some of those family resources I was talking about, but it really just looks to bring in, what are best practices? What are ways that you can better enable technology specifically when you're only teaching online? Next slide. Getting started with Google for EDU. This is a little bit of kind of go at your own pace. It's more of like an 8-week program that really looks to touch upon kind of all of the different products. So if you go to this link, you're able to kind of sign up for it. And, over the course of an 8-week period, you get different like little tutorials and information sent to your inbox so that, it's not overwhelming. Hopefully you can just like take it a little bit each week and go through and just, learn the tools a little bit better. Next slide. And then that leads us into our certification. So I know that this is huge. I think, Stacy, I know you're at least L1 and L2. Are you? You're a trainer as well.
I'm a Google Certified Trainer, and in June I was Google for Education's Google Certified Trainer of the Month.
Oh, see, I knew Stacy was a rock star. But yeah, I love working with our trainers. So do we have any other trainers with us? Oh, we've got Corey.
Yay, Corey.
Love it. Our trainers are just the best. I know when it comes to just me having different presentations coming up or, asking to talk about different Google products, usually I don't like to do these sessions. And usually I go to our trainers and I'm like, hey, will you help me? Because you guys know our tools so much better than I do. It's funny because I'm actually volunteering at Google. We have what we call 20% projects, and I've had to like really start using Classroom in depth.
Oh, good.
And here's the thing, I work for Google, so I represent Google, but there are some challenges with that tool at times. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I'm really getting a peek behind the curtain here, just in terms of what folks are dealing with, the stressful parts of our tools. So please, that brings me to kind of my next point, which is like, if you ever have feedback about our tools, if we're connected, feel free to send it to me. If not, feel free to go on, and all of our tools, there's like a little question mark in the bottom. I believe it's left or right-hand corner. I should know this by now, but it's in the bottom corner. And we really do use that feedback. So if you ever have it, please, try to have it find its way to us. We are seriously in this year, they're hiring more headcount, especially for products like Meet, because of the feedback we've gotten in the last year. So it does make a difference, I promise. But sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent. I appreciate Karen moving me right along here. So for our certification portfolio, we have our L1 and L2, which if you're just entering into the world of, what are Google certifications, L1 and L2 are just a really great place to start. Towards when you go and take the test for L1 and L2, it is a little advanced. I've taken both of these, and it is something that beforehand maybe you play around a little bit, or use the teacher center to go through and make sure you kind of understand the nuances. But once you take L1 and L2, that really demonstrates that you have a pretty good understanding of using Google tools and how to make them work for your classroom. So that is a great place to start. And it's also the precursor for kind of the other certifications available. So in order to become a trainer, coach, or an innovator, you do need to be L1 or L2 certified. But in order to be like an innovator, you don't have to be like a trainer or coach. The only kind of precursors are the L1 and L2 certifications. Now, trainer is more so, I like to think of it as like one to many. So you're getting up, you're doing presentations, whether it's, at your district or it's something like CUE, and you're able to kind of create curriculum around, Google tools and how you're using them in the classroom. That's what I think of trainer. And if I'm explaining any of these, Stacy or Corey, and it does not resonate with you and you feel like I'm totally off base, please feel free to call me out.
No, you're doing great. And just heads up with OCCUE, I'm sure Corey's in a Google Educator group as well. And Global GEG did a really cool boot camp this past summer. But Orange County CUE, we're going to do like a mini get you ready for the L1 and L2 in the next month or two. So just a heads up, that's coming. But yes, perfect, Dan. Awesome. And we encourage you to take the plunge and become a Google Certified Trainer. It's not it's not scary, and it's very supportive. Coaching, there's a lot of time involved to become a coach, but trainer is very doable for fellow educators.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's funny because when I work with I work with about 6 different states, and like specifically in the state of Nevada, we wanted to do something a little bit more than L1 and L2. So we recommended trainer to a lot of the folks, and in kind of working on putting together a program for that, they recommend about 6 months in order to feel like you're like fully secure in becoming a trainer. Because kind of the great thing that I've seen with some of our certifications is we don't just want to like throw you out to the wolves. So we really do, encourage you to go and do, different projects. And when you're submitting your application, you're submitting kind of different, oh my gosh, I can't think of the word. You're submitting kind of different pieces of your journey that show that you're truly prepared for this certification. So I think that when it comes to more of that trainer or innovator, innovator or coach, that tends to be a little bit more of a robust process, but I'll get into that as we keep going. So L1 and L2, they are $10 and $25. They're pretty inexpensive, and we've seen in a lot of cases, sometimes districts cover this, or sometimes we are able to, every once in a while, give out some free ones if we work directly with your district. So if you are thinking about taking it, check in with your district, check in with OCCUE. I know sometimes those vouchers are floating around there, so you can, it doesn't hurt to ask the question. Certified trainer. So yes, this is what we were talking about with Stacy. Just developing the skills to host group training sessions. So like that kind of one-to-many. Certified coach. This is our newest program. This is really, on the onset, it really was built to support districts who maybe already had coaches and just looking to kind of implement tools further into their coaching practice. So that really is empowering someone who's working one-to-one with an educator or somebody at the district in order to just drive that technology use. The really kind of interesting thing about this certification and how it differs from our other is it takes about a year to complete. So what we want to see is, how have you been an established coach, and how have you kind of been working in this capacity in order to kind of earn this certification? I know Innovator is pretty robust, but coaching is kind of different in the sense that it tends to align with like a job title, or if you are able to just kind of devote that time on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis to have that one-on-one interaction. That's really what they're looking to see with that certification. And then lastly, Certified Innovator. So this is really this year they've moved it to an online format, but in the past it's been like you fly out to some random place, whether it's the Bay Area or Singapore. I've heard people go to Singapore, which is like awesome. Or maybe you go to New York and you're like in it for just like, I think it's like a week or 2 weeks. And you're like talking about all these like 10x ideas. So Google's idea of this 10x thinking is how can I, take this idea and just like make it big and make it work, maybe for a large group of people or a community or a group of students. So with the Certified Innovator, it is really more project-based, and it's looking for you to take this idea that's developed during the Certified Innovator training, where you're kind of on site, and then grow it over, the course of, I think it's like 6 months. So this is something to think about if you're looking to get more into Google certifications. Which then brings us to, how do I stay involved in the Google community, and how do I, find these resources, especially if I'm doing something like Innovator or Trainer, or et cetera. That's where GEGs come in. I know I've already given Stacy a plug because she's just such a great GEG leader in the state of California. Our GEGs are just awesome. They share resources, they host, different training sessions. I know that, there's just, what did we do, Stacy, for Google had like a big,
Oh,
back to school announcement. We had like a
Corey.
GEG viewing session.
Yeah, Corey may remember. And I don't know if he's. Yeah, he's it. When we used to have GEGs back in the day when we had their Google Plus community, and when Google Plus ended, unfortunately, all the data from that ended. So our GEG stopped for a little bit, and then they were recreated. The European ones were fine, but then we recreated them in North America. And so now we have them, they're vibrant groups. We use Google Sites and we use Google Groups, and we meet monthly. There's 2 in California, and they're all over the country. And so find one that fits with you. Yeah, join us, Corey. We're GEG SoCal, and there's also GEG NorCal, but we meet monthly. We're looking for speakers. So Corey, if you want to bust in and on the scene, you could host a session in March, because every month we look for a local GEG member to present. That way it's an authentic group, and we're not looking for presenters from far away. So yeah, anytime. And then if you really want to get more involved, there's always the GEG leaders, but then there's also captains in each GEG, and so you can be the website captain or whatever, however much you want to get involved. We're that space. And if you want to just come and share lightly, that's okay too.
Yeah, thanks for that plug, Stacy. And the great thing about this deck is if, maybe you're not part of Stacy's region, or I'm sure if you reach out to Stacy, she would point you in the right direction for the right GEG, because she's just that kind of person. But if you don't want to bother Stacy and you want to figure out, what GEG is right for your area, if you go to the last slide, you're able to click on kind of the title, and I hyperlinked. Yeah, so right here, this blue area. You can go ahead and click on that and actually search for the GEG in your area. Thanks, Karen. Karen's given us like a great demo here. So yeah, I think it's like if you scroll down, but anywho, you can go and look at that if you're interested in joining. All right, moving right along. So the last kind of piece of resources for teachers is some of these more kind of like curricula-based, opportunities for your students. So, if you are someone who is thinking about how you can build kind of computer science curriculum, maybe you're more of a science teacher, or, maybe that's something that you're, encouraged to do at your district. Google has curriculum under kind of CS First to hopefully make, entry-level coding fun and super easy. So a lot of these, no experience required. We're not talking about like huge, crazy projects here. We're talking about creating games out of, different computer science curriculum. So check this out. There's also, applied digital skills. So learning about how to do different projects based around kind of computer science, and then Be Internet Awesome. That's more for like building a student's internet skills or internet awareness. So, what do they need to be aware of when they're online? How should they be acting when they're online? Those are great resources for that. And then that brings me to kind of the second part of this presentation is, what's new with Google for EDU? So some of these maybe, like I said, a little bit more relevant to the district level. Some might be super relevant to your role. So just take it with a grain of salt, whatever works, whatever doesn't. The information's here for you. So I threw together this slide because I thought that it was like really helpful if you're using Google Meet and you just can't keep track of all of the changes that are going on. I tried to just give a little flag of kind of like what's been updated probably over the last 6 months. So I went ahead and I linked the blog post and the Help Center article. Now, I want to give a quick plug for our blogs. Really, if you're looking to stay like the most up to date and you really want a solid source of truth for all things Google, make sure you enroll in updates for our blog. I'm pretty sure you can plug your email in and then get those sent to you when new updates are posted. But with our blog post, it's just really great. It'll let you know as soon as things start rolling out. So specifically this week, there were some changes to the admin console around disabling disabling virtual backgrounds for students. And so that's like really in the entry level stages of rolling out. But the great thing is, district admins know that that's coming out. They know to look for it over the next couple weeks. And it's not like a big surprise then when it just like shows up in your admin console. Well, it probably still will be a big surprise for a few people, but hopefully you're following along with the blog post and it's not a big surprise, but that's the goal that we're working towards. So if you have not checked out our blog, I really encourage you to do that. And then, the big event I want to plug is Learning with Google. So on February 17th, I think it was February 17th and 18th, but maybe I'm just going crazy. We have an upcoming event that actually, if you go and, Karen, can you click the registration page and show it? If you go and click the registration page, I'm not like necessarily allowed to say who's speaking at it, but if you just scroll down, Karen, we've got some like pretty cool speakers lined up. I'm super excited. So yeah, Karen's not showing it on the screen, so I'm not giving away any trade secrets, but Sundar, he's the CEO of Google. He's going to be speaking. Avni Shah, she's actually she leads kind of all of the Google for EDU things within Google, and she's just a very eloquent speaker. I really enjoy listening to her. And then we have, some product managers directly from the classroom team, and it's kind of like going to be hot off the presses. What do you need to know about Google products, and how are they expected to change through the rest of this year? So this event is open to anyone. It's going to be relevant for teachers, district admins, TOSAs, ed tech, partners. It's going to hopefully just hit all those different areas. But yeah, make sure you join into this. It's going to be really, really great, and I'm super excited about it. So we can jump back to our slides. Also, the registration links, and if you need it in different languages, they're in this slide as well. This is just a plug. If your district does have Chromebooks, there's kind of two parts to a Chromebook. You have the Chromebook and you have the Chromebook Management license, which allows a district administrator to be able to manage all of the Chromebooks at your district. So we are increasing the price of the license. So I've been giving folks a caveat. If you are able to purchase early, you'll get it at that $30 price instead of that $38 price. So I just like to flag this for everyone. Next slide. Google Services offering. This is more so focused around admins as well. If your district is purchasing G Suite Enterprise, or if you're purchasing Chromebooks, you can actually sign up to receive free services from Google based on that purchase. So go ahead, and if your district is doing this and you don't know if they're applying for these free services, send them this slide. The services are first come, first serve. So just make sure your district is taking advantage of those. Next slide. AUE, this is around Chromebooks. This is more of that admin slide as well. Our devices, they actually have an expiration date. So after, 6 to 8 years, that device won't work anymore. Or it will still work, but it will stop receiving updates. Sorry, I didn't mean to freak any of you out. But your district admins hopefully are on top of this, and they are able to see it in their admin console. So I just like to flag this because we have a lot of devices that are coming up for expiration this year, and I just don't want anyone to kind of be in a bad spot with that. And then I think this brings us to one of our last slides, which is if you're looking for ways to give product feedback, I gave the caveat of, going into the products and clicking that question mark, but you can also check out the surveys I linked in this slide. These are kind of created directly by teams who are thinking about, how we can fully shape these products to work for our EDU community. So the three kind of topics, or the three surveys that I know my team is looking for feedback around is Google Meet, YouTube, and data analytics. And I actually believe for one of these, I think I saw that there was some kind of $75 perks gift card. I'm not sure which one it was, so you might have to search for that. And it also is, subject to ethics and compliance if you would be able to, receive something like that at your district. But if you're passionate about any of these subjects and you are looking for ways to give feedback, I encourage you to check out this slide. And then lastly, I have, a Jamboard that I set up that just asks a couple questions about your experience with Google products. But I kind of want to pause before we would jump into that and see if anybody has any questions. Maybe if we even just want to have more of a discussion. Karen, if you want to stop presenting. Oh, and yeah, will also, Karen, if it's okay if we could throw that feedback link in the chat. But PS, make sure you fill out the feedback link because it gives you swag if you fill it out. So yeah, so just as a PSA. But I just want to pause and see if anybody has any questions. We have kind of a small group, so like, I don't know, I sometimes don't like to hear people talk at me all day. So what are your thoughts? Anything resonate with you? Anything you want me to go more in depth on?
I'll just say I've been obsessed with trying to be a Google certified trainer or coach for years. I just never really felt like I've had the time, I guess, to kind of invest in it. I did level 1 almost, I think 3 years ago now, because I have to do L1 this year. So I even was asking Stacy a question because I had paid for L2 and never took it. So I maybe just some advice or feedback on what you think would be the best way to kind of approach next steps in getting that, because I do really want to do it.
Yeah, if you want to know my next steps, I mean, I feel like especially during the school year, it's just insane. And so I've seen a lot of teachers or a lot of staff trying to position taking it more so around breaks, but then again, I don't know if you really it just is kind of up to what works best for you. Stacy, I'll throw this one at you too. Do you have any thoughts on what worked for you in terms of how you went about taking it?
I'll do a presentation in OCCUE and then probably with the Google for Education team at the Big Spring Q. But I'll share that with you, Sabrina. I have 2 hyperdocs that help you. They're study guides. So the level 1 and the level 2. And then, so if you haven't expired in level 1, take your exam because you don't have to do the multiple choice again. Try to recertify right away. And then you're just doing the practical part. And then for level 2, just work through the study guide. Everything you need is in the Google for Education training center, and everything in the study guide will take you to a section of that where you might feel weaker. The best thing I can suggest is to take all the practice questions. So the unit reviews, as well as all of the lesson checks. And those are all linked in the study guide as well. And then you can look at Global GEG's level 2 boot camp. You might see me in there doing spreadsheets. Those are really helpful too. And don't be afraid of either one of those. Level 2 is a lot harder than level 1 just because you're using it in your teaching and learning. And so you're demonstrating how you use it, but you'll be fine. It takes a little longer than level. So if you did level 1 in, an hour and a half or 2 hours, it'll take you 2 to 2.5 hours to do level 2. And then trainer's really easy. Once you've done level 1 and level 2, you've shown that you understand the Google tools. And then trainer is just, how do you train other people? You'll go through the lessons are great on the website, on the Google website. And then the practical exam is nowhere near as rigorous as 1 and 2 because you already know the materials. And then you make your video demonstrating you know how to train. And then you'll, if you've got all your ducks in a row, then you'll be inducted into the group. But it's really supportive.
Yeah, and I would also add on to that too, where I've seen a lot of people have issues, especially with more so level 2 than level 1, is we start asking questions about products that you might not use in your everyday, like Google Groups. Some districts love Google Groups. Some districts are like, I never am going to use Google Groups. So, kind of it a little bit depends on what your comfort level is around Google products. And I would just say, spend a little extra time on those areas where maybe you're not using those tools on a regular basis. To Stacy's point, it kind of is a little different for everyone. And I think the nice thing about Trainer too is, when you're leading trainings, it's very rare that you're going to have a training that's like, we're going to talk about every Google product ever made today. It's usually like, let's focus on classroom and let's focus maybe on how you use Drive and Calendar better. I don't know. Those are just examples. But like I think that the goal for Trainer is you should have a baseline understanding of all the products, but really where you're going to develop your expertise, it can be narrowed in on, it can be more kind of product specific. Stacy, would you agree with that?
Look, Corey was nodding his head too. It's like, you don't have to install a Chrome extension. And what was funny on my level 2 is I got one I had never used before. No big deal. Remember, it's open test. In fact, they got rid of ProctorU. They're not going to use it as our testings because there was so much negative feedback. No offense to beautiful ProctorU, but different kind of environment. We're not taking an exam to be a surgeon. We're getting a level 2 certification for Google. So it was less cumbersome to test in the old system. And it's open notes, it's open internet. If there's a weak point, Google expects you to Google it, to go and find the answer, not come in with everything memorized. So I installed the Chrome extension. I followed the directions of the Chrome extension and it worked great. And so that was kind of the beauty of Chrome extensions are designed to be easy to use for the end user. And it was neat. So don't be afraid that you don't know something. Just go in with an open mind and ready to resolve an issue during the middle of the test. And if you don't pass, who cares? You wait 2 weeks and you take it. It's only $10 for the exam, $25 for level 2. I think Trainer's only a few bucks. It's very, very inexpensive for a really valuable certification. And because the exams are 3 hours long, people know that there was a lot of rigor in that exam and that you worked really hard to get those.
Yeah.
I will give you a quick heads up. If you do decide to take the test, and I learned this from my own experience, don't buy level 1 and 2 at the same time. You only have like 8 days.
Yeah, no.
This past year, I had to recertify mine, and I bought both, and I only did my first one. So now I have to go back and pay for my second one again. But yeah, that's the beauty of it. It's a practical test, so it's much more of doing versus just picking multiple choice. And I will tell you, I'm a certified trainer. I still Google things because we don't use all the products in our district, things like Blogger, that kind of thing. I don't know. And so I'll just do a quick little open a new tab, Google search, boom, boom, boom. Oh, that makes sense with it. So it's completely doable. And I just love the practical because they're not trying to get you to memorize things, but understand that these are how you can do things and kind of make your life easier within the Google ecosphere.
I say this on a regular basis and people laugh at me, but I swear to God, the #1 skill I've gotten better at since working for Google is Googling. It's like half of my job, I promise you. So do not feel, to Corey and Stacey's point, do not feel like you need to go in there knowing everything, having it all memorized. Really, our goal is just to test, how well can you find answers? How well can you, lead others through these products and kind of talk about them. So I think, a lot of really great advice here. Hopefully this helps out a bit as you're kind of, deciding where to go with that journey. But yeah, I think there's a lot of resources, Sabrina, and it sounds like OCCUE is even helping facilitate some of those resources.
And
so
if you ever make a mistake in your payment, that's what those, Danielle's not kidding. They actually answer for what she was talking about was product suggestions. The team listens to you. You might even get an email saying, hey, will you pilot this? Because I've done a couple of pilots. I was on a Workbench pilot and on Google Assignments LTI with Canvas, and those were delightful experiences. But the other side is if you're having trouble, like you paid something, contact Criterion or the Google certification team, and they will give you another credit. They don't want you to be, if it's been a couple of years, it's probably hard for them to find it at this point, but if it's just recent, don't hesitate. In fact, because I'm a trainer, when I did a huge training of about 500 people in our district this year. And if they couldn't get their test resolved, as a trainer, we have another group we can access. And I would say, Sarah had trouble with her test. And so they would put a credit in her account. So that was really helpful. Reach out to your local trainer if you need questions too.
I want to make sure, there was 2 other questions in the chat, and I want to make sure I just breeze through those. Can you take the Google certification if you are no longer working in a school district? Yes, absolutely. I would say that's probably, one of the best times to take it. Because then you're staying up to date, with how our products are changing and how they're evolving. And, if you have a goal of getting back into a school district or, working in education in any capacity, I think it's something that ultimately will hopefully just help you. But yes, I've taken them not as a Google or not as somebody working in a school district. So that's not a problem at all. I would say the hardest one would just be a coach. You certainly can become a coach if you aren't working in a school district, but you just have to make sure you have more of that one-on-one working with teachers. So if you have a job that allows for that, then certainly you can still go ahead and do that. But I would just say that would be the biggest flag there. And then Anne asked, are there innovator camps online? Yes, we have moved, I think they're calling it like they called it like VIA 2020 last year. They have moved them online, and actually as Googlers, we've gotten the chance to hear from some of the innovators of this year and what they're working on. And these projects are just like, they're just amazing. And I'm not discrediting any of the in-person classes, because I'm sure their projects were amazing too. But I guess from my perspective, it's actually kind of cool, because I feel like a lot of the participants in the Innovator Camp of 2020 actually got to like talk to other Googlers who maybe they wouldn't have had the chance to work with, or there's just different ways that we're all finding that we can connect now in this kind of online format. So, if that's something that you're interested in, I would definitely not hesitate to sign up for one of the online experiences. I've heard that they've been super positive. Stacy's been nodding along, so I assume
everybody's really enjoyed it. I've never applied yet. I just feel like I need to be like, I need a lot of time on my plate, but do apply, because you might have that. And it's, what's cool is you need to think out of the box. You're not being a trainer and saying I know how to do this. You are saying this is the next cool thing, like Breakout EDU, and then Google supports you. It doesn't have to be a Google product. It has to just be something cool and innovative that you can bring to market. It's kind of like being like venture capitalism for teachers. It's very cool. I hate to break this off, but we have only 2 minutes to go. Would you like to, don't forget to fill out Danielle's evaluation, everybody, so you get her swag, and then our eval is at the very, very end.
Cool. And I threw in the link for how you can just get started in that process. And yeah, it should hopefully lead you to the right place. But yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Hopefully this was helpful. Please make sure you fill out the feedback, get that swag, use the slides at your district, and yeah, I'm good to go. So thanks for having us, Stacy, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. Thanks for everybody for being in here. If you missed anything, I've tried to get everything in the chat. Everything's going to be recorded and put up on our Orange County CUE YouTube channel. Yay. Awesome. Anybody have a last question for Danielle before I turn off the recording? Yay.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day.